Good afternoon. You've heard it before and you will hear it again, but it's worth repeating. The world has changed. Business has changed too. Digital transformation is everywhere and everything is digital. This is the future and we're not turning back. Everyone is talking about the need for innovation these days, but there are a lot of questions about the best ways to move forward. I am Sanket Atal, Managing Director Sites, Salesforce India, and I'm excited to welcome Mark Nelson, President and CEO at Tableau Software, for an engaging conversation on the role of data in driving innovation and building resilient businesses, particularly in times like these. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Now, Mark, I know you're a dedicated runner and mountain climber. You know the value of perseverance in the face of big challenges. This past year has been a challenging one for all of us. Could you share with us the top 3 things you have changed in the last year?
Yeah, a lot has changed for all of us in the last year. For me in particular, well, I got a new job 3 months ago, taking on this position after leading product and development here at Tableau, which has been a huge change for me. I'm back into learning mode, learning a new job and a whole bunch of new skills, which has been both exciting and challenging, especially in the current times in the way we work right now, which has been the other big change for all of us over the last year, is figure out a whole new way to work, right? Working from home, working remotely, not seeing people in 3D. All of us have had to just figure out a whole new way to work. With goods and bads that come along with this that we carry into what happens as we come out of this, right? On the definite upside, I have had so many more customer meetings now that I don't have to get on an airplane to go meet customers, which has been great. Huge changes and adaptations over the last year, and we'll have to figure out what it means as we start coming out of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. And then back to where you started. So I'm a runner. I kept running through the pandemic for sure. But in the middle of last summer, I had knee surgery. I tore the left meniscus, the meniscus in my left knee. So that was a huge change. I had to adapt to 3 months with no running and easing back into my routine. But back to what running has really taught me over the years is the value of perseverance, is that anything that's worth doing is worth putting in the time and effort. And it's been so great to get back into running and get back to a normal routine now.
Awesome. By the way, I hope your knee is better and strong enough to run a marathon now. Now, Mark, diversity of perspective has been shown time and again to foster fresh thinking to solve tough problems. Such is the promise for organizations that can effectively bring together data and design, a fusion with the promise of supercharging innovation. We would love to hear your thoughts on how companies can knit data and design together more effectively.
Yeah, it's a great topic. And so, maybe I'll start from tactically and then go to a bigger picture. Very tactically, we're in the business of visual analytics, right? This is what Tableau has always done. And as you look at design and data together with visual analytics, it's really focusing on those best practices. How do you bring the power of pre-attentive cognitive attributes like size, color, et cetera, for really fast insight, right? How do you get that design so that you can just get clear insights and meaning across to your users very quickly? And how do you get software that is in the flow of how you think, right? When you have to determine a chart type before you even start your analysis, you're so tied in. The magic that we have hoped to create here at Tableau has always been this flow around helping you explore data, answering questions that when you started, you didn't even know you wanted to answer, right? Looking at your data and really analyzing and figuring out the questions. Oh, I didn't even know I wanted to know that, and how do I answer that? And then eventually, of course, getting to something that you can share those insights with other users, which is this combination of data, design, and human thinking. But going back to where that question started on diversity and diversity is why it's so important. Different life experiences can prompt different people to ask different questions of the same data and come to completely different angles of understanding, which is why it's just so important to have everyone working with data and across diverse viewpoints. Upskilling to have that ability also has the potential to boost the GDP by $6.5 trillion by 2030, including $570 billion in India alone, according to a 2021 World Economic Forum report. So this is why I'm so excited about some of our efforts, including one with the India Ministry of Education that we announced last month, where Tableau's partnership with them will help with the All India Council for Technical Education, will equip students and educators from over 10,500 higher learning institutes with modern data analytic skills. Bringing all those people into the ability to use data and design is just an amazing way to uplift all of everything, our entire economy.
Absolutely, and I think it'll give a big boost to the skilling initiative. Add, data stars to the economy. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, Mark, analytical reasoning and business analysis have been called out as skills that companies needed most in 2020. In addition, 50% of organizations lack sufficient data literacy skills to achieve business value. How can businesses build a culture of innovation with data as the foundation?
Yeah, this was so important in all of these data transformations. It is not a technology transformation, it is a people transformation. We talk about all the time the importance of data culture, and it cannot be overstated. You have to help employees become comfortable and then confident and then effective with data. In a recent New Vantage Partners survey, 92.2 of the Fortune 1000 chief data officers surveyed said that the principal challenge becoming data-driven is cultural and human-related. Less than 8% said it was about technology. This is the fifth straight year the executives pointed to cultural challenges, not tech concerns, on really getting what they want to out of data. And all of this is not just around teaching new people coming into the workforce and new students, right? This is really about taking your entire workforce. People have been in jobs for a long time and empowering them with the skills and abilities to work with data. To do this, you really have to change your entire organization, right? This is not just a bottoms up thing. This is not just a tops down thing. It has to come from all angles. It does have to come from the top. You have to set a culture where you're expecting your employees to answer questions with data. You're kind of demanding that, but also you're empowering them and encouraging this to come from the bottom up. And of course, you have to have this community around everyone so that, again, they feel supported, they can learn both inside of your company and without. And there is technology. Of course, we're very biased that we believe Tableau is the best tool and platform for this. But you obviously have to enable your employees with the tools where they can really effectively use that. But that's the last mile. The first mile is really setting that culture where the expectation is that you're using data to make all of your decisions.
Interesting. Cultural hurdles to innovation. Super interesting, Mark. Now, talking about what you can do with data, predicting the future, typically is not magic, it's AI. And data is the backbone of AI. Business resilience has been our biggest lesson over the last year. What role does data play in making innovation the epicenter of business resilience?
Yeah, in times of chaos, reliable information becomes more valuable than gold, right? It becomes a powerful tool for you to get an understanding of what's going on when normal rules just don't apply anymore. And the last 18 months have been a great example of that, right? All of us in our personal lives, as well as in our business lives, have been trying to figure out a world that is changing so fast. And data is so important in that because it helps you empirically see what is going on, is helping you empirically come up with ways to try to address what you're seeing changing in the world and going on around you. And it also gives you, again, an empirical way to figure out what's working and what's not working. And again, the last 18 months, so much has changed and businesses have had to change so much, right? We've talked about how there's been more digital transformation in the last year than in the last decade. And when businesses are just changing that fast, they really need something to hang their hat on what's going on, how do I understand, how do I evaluate? And that's what data is. Data gives you a new microscope or a new telescope to really be able to see what's going on in your world. A great example of this is in India, the Express Parcel Service, DTDC. They were able to slice information by location, product, different service parameters to anticipate delivery delays. 175 senior managers from across the business are using nearly 75 dashboards to drive decision-making, cost reductions, and service improvements. And it was able to get them back to pre-pandemic profit levels in just 9 months, which is an amazing use of data, again, to be resilient in the face of all the changes of what's going on around us.
Yeah, that is phenomenal. Truly underscores the power of data and why companies need to leverage it. Now, data has to be structured, is structured, and the essence of innovation is fluidity. How do these two concepts intertwine? It's a bit of a philosophical question also, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, so data can be structured. We'll talk about that. Not all data is structured, but while data is structured, the act of analyzing data and really answering questions of your data, that is very much a fluid and human experience, right? And that's really what great analysis is, right? It is not just walking up to data and saying, oh, I know exactly what I want. Here, I'm done. It is having what all of us really face is this messy world where, we've got a ton of data. We live at this amazing time where our ability to gather and process and store data is greater than it's ever been. That's amazing. The downside of that is we're swimming in it, right? And so back to the question, that's where the human flow and the just getting into your data and having this flow of analysis where, again, you start with a question, you look at that, you realize that has led you down this tangent, which leads you to this question and to that question. And that is a very human and fluid experience, right? And that's really where you have to get to. It's not locked into, this is my data, this is what it tells me. It is getting into kind of the zen of what am I trying to solve for? What am I looking at? What data do I have at my fingertips? And then using the tools at hand to dive into that. And that's where, having software that works the way the human mind works and encourages that behavior is so important, right? How many times have you used software where it forces you into a thought pattern that matches how the software works, right? Like that's not what you want. Again, you don't want to be forced down at the very beginning with this choice of, do I want a bar chart? Do I want this kind of chart? Do I have to have a map? That forces you, again, to think like the software is thinking. What you really want is a software that encourages that human flow and fluidity of the thought process that you've got, that lets you start with your first question, lead to your next question, and naturally go from one to the other. Because I keep using this analogy, the ability to see data is like a new microscope and a new telescope. It's an amazing tool in the human's hands, but it's just that, it's just a tool. It doesn't inherently give you insights. That's what the human brain is great and amazing at. And the software is just a way to help encourage that and empower that brain to do new things. And then last thought, not all data is structured, right? And this is part of what we're facing, from text data to sentiment analysis. There's also a bunch of data that requires you to be very flexible in how you think about it, because it is not, this very rigid financial or other data that you work with. So all of that, again, is back to, if you want to get the most out of data, really focus on that data exploration and answering questions of your data. Don't get locked into the notion of, this is what this set of data can do for me.
Interesting. Yeah, and Mark, you talked about the abundance of data, and there's definitely a challenge of volume versus veracity of data that continues to exist. How can organization design, processes, and technology help solve the problem of quality of data for better experimentation and business outcomes?
Yeah, this is a big problem. This is the number one problem I hear from all the customers that I talk to today is, again, we are at this amazing time where we've all got data at our fingertips, and what it's resulted in is kind of this data chaos, right? We've got this huge volume of flow, And then the answer is, you need to keep this balance of self-service, and because you want everyone exploring and looking for new answers and looking at new data, with governance and this notion of, this is data that has been very well vetted, and this is data that we just pulled from somewhere, right? And it is about just knowing, first it's just knowing the difference between the two and being able to see that when you're in the active analysis or looking at the results of analysis. Because it doesn't mean that, the data that comes out of your data warehouse, obviously you have a high degree of trust and you know where it came from. Just because someone pulled that off of, someone's laptop does not make that data untrustworthy. But it does mean that you have to ask other questions and you have to figure out, how you judge what that data means and what is. So, it's striking that balance. The key part of that balance is visibility and understanding, right? Knowing that where that data that you're looking at, when you see that visualization that looks beautiful in front of you and shows you these results, knowing what that was based on, so that you know whether you should just inherently trust it, whether you should ask 5 other questions, how you should think about that. And this, of course, is again a match of human processes, human understanding, as well as technology, right? There's no technical solution you just plop in and everything starts to make sense. But at the same time, you definitely need software. You need machines to do the things that humans are not good at here. AI and ML play a critical role in helping sort through, again, this amazing set of data that we have in front of us. But those are the things that are overwhelming for the human mind and that the computers can do very well for us. But again, putting that back into a funnel where at the end of that funnel is the human, is the ability to make sense of and understanding, again, just in this notion of data management, just because it came from random laptop instead of data warehouse, again, is that good? Is that bad? Is that indifferent? What do I ask to really trust that? That's where the human mind and human judgment comes in addition to what the machines can do for you. So it is, again, building this data culture, building the set of processes, building the technology to enable everyone to work with data, but to understand what they're getting and have a good sense of lineage and governance along the way.
Yeah, that's, use the tools, but don't lose the human aspect of running an organization. Absolutely. Very eloquently put, Mark. We'd like to thank you, Mark, for sharing your thoughts with us. These give us greater insights on how organizations can leverage data towards improving their resilience and unleashing innovation. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. We're at a great and amazing time to work with data. It is the key to really being agile and understanding and resilient in these amazing times. So thank you again for having me on.
Awesome. Namaste.